Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good, Dr. Harvey. How are you?
Not too bad, all things considered. I think I'm finally getting over the hump of whatever I got going on here medically.
Oh,
Had
well,
a had a pre-stroke a few weeks ago,
oh my goodness.
so that was no fun.
No, did you have to have stents or anything?
No. So we're hoping I haven't what is it, an MRA scheduled here in a couple weeks that I gotta go
Okay.
get done. Yeah. But other than that, I'm
Linda,
doing well.
Linda, you there?
Yep, I'm here. How's everybody doing?
Well,
Good.
well,
Happy holidays to everyone.
same.
Hi,
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
good. How are you, Bill?
Good. Okay. Charlene, how are you? She's connecting.
Okay.
Charlene, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill,
Yes.
Dan Ganska won't be joining us tonight. He had something else going on.
Okay.
So who are we waiting on?
John and Danny
Okay.
and Chris.
John, Danny, Chris. Um, I've got so many papers on my desk here that I can't find the list. I just got through with the police reform and reinvention collaborative. So
That's quite a title.
yes, it is. So Vernon got to go first, Michelle. Now you're on, right?
Yep.
So he's off enjoying himself in the sunshine there. Huh?
No. He can't do that he can't do that by himself.
Okay. So we got a couple more minutes. And
Oh, Bill, was there a fire or something down in Allegheny earlier this afternoon?
yes, I'm just sending an email. Yeah. Yes, there was at the corner of the West River Road and 4 Mile.
Okay.
Yeah. So we responded on request and we were there about an hour. So
Yeah, I saw Portville and Weston Mills go by. So I was just
Mhm.
curious what was going on.
yeah, I'm not sure how bad the fire was, but it wasn't a total loss according to what Tim said. So
Oh, that's good.
yes, it is scary.
Oh, I know.
It's we
Hey.
had there was one on 19th Street Sunday, South 19th Street. So
Wow.
that our
How
guys
fa-
handled. So
Yeah. How far down South 19th?
I think it was 114.
Okay, that's up close.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hmm.
They saved 3 animals and
Aw.
no injuries. So that was, but the kitchen and it extended up to the room above the kitchen is what I was told, but they were able to get that out and so it didn't destroy the whole house. So
Right. Now I see there was one on Second Avenue a couple of days ago too.
yeah, I think was that I think that one was the chimney or was that the stove? I can't remember. There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them. One was chimney fire in the chimney, and the other one was, I think a stove. Something
Yeah,
happened to the stove.
Yeah, that might have been the chimney on that one. I see the truck was there to help clean up
Mhm.
the house, but hey, they were lucky. Especially
Yeah.
this time of year, it's so cold.
Yep. Okay, we've got Chris joins us. Chris, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Okay. And
So it's just Danny and John.
yeah. Mhm. Well, Linda, why don't you go ahead and I'll let them in as soon as they appear in the waiting room. So.
Okay, so welcome everybody tonight. I hope everyone's had a great holiday. And what we were going to discuss tonight was the municipal training and let's see, recruiting and training. The other thing that I think we were thinking about adding was retention. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Also, I wanted to point out, Bill sent us out some old policies, some procedures, and a policy on like sexual harassment, equal employment, violence in the workplace. So if you get a chance to read through those. So where would we like to start? Bill, if you want to just touch on some of the things that you handed out to us.
Yep, I can do that. Okay, these are policies that are currently in effect. The first one is the equal employee opportunity and affirmative action policy, and I believe that's the one that we're currently working on, updating that,
Right.
with the committee here. So we have workplace violence prevention. That is, we put this one together about, well, right after I came into office, and we're using, actually, it's a recommendation from the Employees Assistance Program that we have. So that's what I've sent out also there. The next one is drug and alcohol policy.
Mhm.
That one has been around before me. And this is basically to do with the CSEA employees of the city. Now, we also have a drug and alcohol policy that's connected with the fire department and the police department.
Okay.
So, okay, but it's just, it's involved, this one's, because a lot of our drivers have CDLs, the licensed CDLs, they're required by law. If they they're randomly tested, and if they test positive for alcohol or drugs, they may, they could possibly lose their CDL license. So that's just state oversees the licensing, and then we oversee the drug policy.
So Bill, I actually have a question on that, because in looking at the policy, I wasn't clear if you were, if that was for general employees, or if it's for civil service employees, or if it's for those uniform personnel. I was kind of, and the reason I asked the question is because the action, you had counseling and then counseling with something and counseling. And so the uniform personnel and the CDL drivers, that would not be their punishment, for lack of a better term, would be more rigid than counseling. They'd
Yeah.
have to go through a program, a rehab type thing. So I wasn't sure. I mean, everybody or just certain work groups.
This one is for CSEA employees. That would be the civil service employees. So that would be your DPW, mainly DPW workers.
So yeah, so it doesn't
Yeah.
include your uniform folks and your
No, it
CDL
isn't.
drivers.
We have a separate one. It's in the up until a couple of years ago, or maybe more, a little more than that. We had no drug testing for the police department. Because it wasn't in their contract. So we now have it in their contract and in their collective bargaining agreement. And I believe it's the same thing with the fire department. So
Yep.
but this one
And-
governs the basically the city DPW water plant workers, sewage treatment plant workers, mainly everybody that pretty much drives a vehicle.
Mhm. And we have
Also,
used that before.
Yeah, it also comes into effect with the employees that work here in the like your clerical staff and all that too. It also covers them. If there's a suspicion, we can drug test them, so.
Yeah.
But and then there is, and this is taken from the collective bargaining agreement on the, counseling, consulting, counseling and time off or termination. But they also, if they have a CDL, then it's comes under the state Department of Transportation. And
Well, actually, it's federal and it's
that's
the
right. Yes.
Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, because
Yeah.
if anyone had a positive test result, they are required to go through a medical review officer, to go through a substance abuse professional, and they have to complete some requirements before they can actually return to their duties, in addition to having a negative test result. So that's why I was not sure if this included those folks, because they have a much more rigid guideline that they have to adhere to. So
Yeah, you're right. I misspoke. It is federal because we did have a couple of years ago, maybe it was 4 years ago now, we did have one of our workers who had the CDL, got arrested for DWI. And he did have to go, he had to go through quite a bit, and I think he had to wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he had to go for a year before he could get his CDL back doing certain things.
yes, the
Mhm.
other thing is the FMCSA, the federal side of the house, they now have a clearinghouse required registration program. And I'm assuming your DPW superintendent probably knows that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him, he's actually coming on right now. So John Crawford's coming on and Bob Ring's coming on. So maybe we can get some clarification from Bob Ring on the CDL. John, you there?
Hey, Bill, sorry I'm running
Hey,
late.
John.
So,
Hi, everyone.
Hi, John.
Hello, everyone.
Bob? You hear us, Bob?
Yeah,
Bob
we were
Ring?
just reviewing the policies that Bill sent out to us.
Bob, you there? Bob Ring? I don't know if he's froze up or he's trying to,
He looks frozen, Bill.
yeah, so. I don't know if you can hear us, Bob, or not, but you look like you're froze up.
I'm in there, I'm just getting connected.
Yeah, you're coming in broken up to us.
Okay, I can hear you. I guess I'll just wait. I'm gonna call in if you can hear me too.
We're hearing you, but then you kind of
Kind of
Bill,
fake.
Could you let me in? I just tried to get in on my phone. Could you let me in?
Yep.
That way? This would probably be faster.
Okay, you should be in now. Okay, Bobby there?
Yeah, is that better? Hold on.
Yes.
Is that
Okay,
better?
Better.
we're talking about the drug and alcohol policy to do with the all CSEA employees. And a question come up on our CDL with the drivers there. And Charlene, you want to just tell Bob what your question was or?
Yeah, Bob, so I was talking to the team about the FMCSA requirement now that CDL holders have registered in the clearinghouse. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's a new regulation.
Yeah. So anyway, I was, the subject came up because we were talking about the drug and alcohol policy that Bill provided to us. And my question was, did this policy cover the CDL personnel as well as the uniform personnel? And so the uniform personnel, we kind of got that out of the way, but I was just curious about the CDL holders and whether or not they had registered in the clearinghouse. And that it just was, so that's where we were. And then
Okay.
voila, you showed up.
Okay. Yeah, and we're in the process of registering everybody to, the new process. And, from what I understand, CDL is regulated by like, the DMV, by the state typically. And we required a drug test as they're hired, but also they're randomly drug tested.
Mhm.
And that's we follow the state's regulation on that. I believe 2 people per month are randomly drug tested, and then if they get in an accident on the job, then they're tested as well. They have to have a test done immediately following any kind of vehicle accident. And I'm not that familiar with the new process. It came in maybe a couple months ago, and we're working through that. We have
Well,
probably 40
yeah,
CDL
and I just, the only reason I know is because I manage the program for the county. So, but anyway, I was just questioning if this policy covered everybody, and that's how the discussion came up. So,
Okay, so any more questions on that one?
Nope.
Okay, so we have a smoking policy. Pretty much, this goes way back.
Oh, yeah. Some of these are really dated.
Yeah. Well, the smoking ones, basically prohibits smoking in our vehicles and in our buildings. We now have a no smoking in our, and that's not in this policy, but just for reference, we have no smoking in our parks, no smoking or vaping. The council passed that resolution last year or this year.
Mhm.
What am I, 2 days away, or a little over a day away from next year, so. Identification card policy, that's what I sent you also there. And email, internet, computer resource policy, which we have to, we've been talking about updating this one too. Actually, they all have to be updated.
Mhm.
Discrimination harassment policy. That one, a lot of these are cookie cutters from different organizations, but we have that. We have this was recommended by our insurance carrier. And we have this and we put together this one. So we have a process in place. If you feel discriminated against or harassed in the workplace. Conflict of interest policy, that came right from the state comptroller. So that's in here. The next one is code of ethics. And this looks pretty, this might have been established quite a while ago. Uh, it looks to me like I don't know, we don't have a date on this one, but it looks like something that's just been pushed forward for years and years. That may be, we may have to take a look at that one. And then family medical leave. This one is constantly changing, and now with COVID medical leave, we have to deal with that. That is, we rely on, sometimes we get information from a couple of different firms. One is Coughlin Gerhardt out of Binghamton that we've been associated with on different things. They send out opinions on these, as does Hudson Russ that we deal with for our labor attorneys, and as does the state also on these. So there's a lot of the FFMLA COVID one, that can be very tricky. And so we try to do the best we can with that. And there again, that's I don't want to keep harping, but that's why we need someone in here that can dedicate their time to knowing all these laws and how they are applied in the workplace.
Yeah, I
So-
think following up on that with Bill, what he just went through, not all of them, but some of these, because we're a municipality, they have to go through all of our unions, and the unions have to, agree to different things. And that's sort of an ongoing process also. I remember when we tried to update the smoking policy, we had a little pushback from the union folks, but eventually, we negotiated it out. So it's not as, cut and dry as some, especially say a workplace that they don't have a union. Then you just have the folks putting the policies together, and they can, pretty much fit what's at the employees that you employ. So that's what makes ours a little different, is because of the unions. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, a lot of these things you have to negotiate with the unions, or you have to at least consult. Some of the terminology is you have to consult with the unions on these. So we do that. And I mean, then there's OSHA here, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. That's the Department of Labor, and we get there's a Bob, was it a PESH inspection that's done? Is that what they call it, a PESH inspection?
The safety inspections.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They come in and inspect, and you can be fined. You can be, so we try to, our insurance carrier usually will send out a team, one or two people that'll do what they call a pre-PESH inspection. And to let us, so that we have, they will go through all of our facilities and say, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. And that's so you can, so when PESH does come in, and I'm drawing a blank on what PESH stands for, but it's Public Employees. It's not OSHA, which we also deal with OSHA, but we have to deal with this. It's to do with the labor department. So they will come in, do an inspection, and tell us what we need to fix or have do better, so that when there is that inspection, that we will pass it. So, and it's all good to have them come in and have another set of eyes looking at things and saying, okay, how can we make everything safer
Right,
for our employees? So, and for the people using our facilities. So,
right.
you got that. And then we have the last, I'm not sure if you got it or not, but there's a employee bulletin board, contains information regarding the rights and your rights, and it's got and employees of, it should be of the employees. And, minimum wage has to be posted, Department of Labor standard deductions for wages. And, New York Correction Law 23A, New York Department of Labor Division Labor Standards, election law, New York State Division of Human Rights Against Discrimination, New York State Protection Division of Labor Standards, and many more, that we have to, we post on the employees' bulletin boards. And even in the CSEA contract, CSEA is there again as mainly the public works employees. But even in their contract, it says where the bulletin boards are to be located.
Mhm.
So we have that. So in the city building here, they have to be located they're located in the clerk's office, one of the bulletin boards. And then I believe we have another one in the break room, which is in the basement here, for items to be posted. So
Right.
those
Hey, Bill.
are.
Bill, I've got a question for you.
Mhm.
When it comes to these policies, and I guess I'm unfamiliar with how the procedure works. When you implement these policies, when you have to update, or if you were to change those policies, are you able to do that internally because it's a policy, it's not a law, or does it have to go before the council? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, it's usually internal because it's a policy. Now, there are some things that we do, since I've been here, that we do take to the council.
Yeah.
And at least informative, but we haven't done anything with these policies in the last several years.
Yeah.
But it's a good idea. And there again, I hate to keep harping, but this is something that if we get a human resource person in there, that they can go through them and, put together. We need an employee handbook. That's been recommended for years. And
Yep.
we do have some things that the auditor's office will give to a new employee. But, we need to put together a good employee handbook that can be handed out, to not only new employees, but current employees. So it's a matter of putting everything together. And if we had an employee's handbook, my thoughts would be is to take that to the council and have approval,
Right.
on that. So.
And I think the other thing to follow up, Bill, is to put a employee handbook together, but also a person that goes through it with the employee, because so many people, you hand them an employee handbook and it gets tossed in the back seat or in the glove compartment, and they never look at it.
Yeah.
I remember at the hospital, we would go through a checklist with the new nurses, and they would have to sign off that certain policies, not just like sexual harassment or anything like that, but all different policies, they had to sign off that, yes, I did review these. Yes, a certain person walked me through them, or I took a test afterwards, but it all had to be documented that they couldn't come back and say, well, I didn't know that. So I think maybe could be part of the hiring process.
Yeah.
To have someone actually walk them through those things.
The police department does that with their new employees. The fire department does it. And I believe, Bob, you guys do it with yours. You have a checklist that things that you go through with a new employee. But there should be a standard practice
Right.
that the city does. So we do have that, but it's not like nothing is done. It's done, but it would be great to have everything under one roof and.
Right, centralized.
Yep, centralized. So.
Yeah,
What?
better.
An orientation.
Right.
What do we do for a new alderman? We really don't do, we really don't have an orientation for them. So,
Yeah.
It's
funny you should bring that up, Bill. Way back when I think Griffin was mayor, he had us come in as new people, and we met some of the department heads, and they walked us through what they did. We got our handbook. They talked to us a little. Then they sent us over to, I think it was Terry Belli way back then. And then each mayor does it a little differently. And then I tried that. I brought the new alderman in, and the department head sat with them and just told them what they did, how the process worked. But the thing that was missing was the human resource person, because you might work for DPW, you might work for the police or the fire department, but you had to figure out who you talk to about what. So I think that's why a centralized system would make it easier on our department heads, quite frankly.
Yeah, it would.
And our department heads could have the input because they know what they need.
Mhm.
So I would like to just take a point of reference here. And, you know, as much as that really, it is mission critical. I agree. I think it's important for the city, and we will continue working with Bill, the mayor's office, and to remedy the lack of a human resource officer. But I think, you know, for the sake of what our mission is, I think it's important for us to, you know, obviously our mission is, we probably don't have much to say about the drug and alcohol policy, right? But there are certain policies here that we should look at updating, and you know, whether it's the equal opportunity policy, perhaps workplace violence, I'm not exactly sure, right? But we should look through certainly discrimination. Yeah, smoking, probably, you know, that's more HR. We're not an HR committee. We're a diversity and inclusion committee. So I don't want to, we can't solve all the city's problems, but we need to focus on what the problems we can tackle in this group. And so my recommendation would be, and I don't know how you want to go about it, but whether we do it collectively, whether we break out and assign one or two people to review, you know, there's 12 different policies. Again, we're not going to say we can't say anything about OSHA, but maybe we could review the family, you know, the family leave. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I think we need to have some focus with what we're doing with these policies.
Right. And
I think to John's point, oops, sorry, Linda.
No, who is
to
it?
John's point, though, one of the things that I think could be developed is a better definition of what bias and harassment means, and what that looks like. Because we have one statement saying that it's not okay, right? That discrimination on the basis of race and ethnicity is not okay. We have one definition that thoroughly explains what sexual harassment looks like. But there's no like corresponding definition for bias-related harassment or bias-related discrimination outside of sexual harassment. So I think one thing to develop, if we're looking just specifically at those policies, is to add in what other forms of discrimination might be defined for the city, or at least for the purposes of HR.
That's a good point. I think, like, for instance, I was reading through the equal employment opportunity, and some of the language in here needs to be updated. For instance, it says, let's see, applicant, blah, 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 because of race, creed, color, national origin, sex, age, disability. It's kind of needs to be updated. Instead of sex, it should have gender. I mean, it's like, you know, we have to put in there what applies to our community and people that live here, you know, and the way it's written, it's, you know, it just needs updated. You know, it's that simple. The other thing I noticed in here, towards the bottom of that first paragraph, they point out AIDS or AIDS related conditions. You know, I mean, that's tells you how old it is. So I just think that part, maybe we could start with that policy, because it's, you know, there's some good bones, but it just needs to be clarified. And as you said, developed into meeting where we are now as a community.
I don't, if I can interject, and I don't mean to be, I'm probably going to seem to come across as rather negative
That's okay.
right now, but I've been frustrated with these of late. We set an agenda, we get into the meeting, and we very rarely discuss the actual agenda until towards the end of the meeting. And we, to Mr. Crawford's point, and I love the fact that he's generally the one that keeps us on task, but I feel like we're just continuing to spin our wheels, and we're not really putting our hand to the plow at this point. And we have an agenda, we have things that we agree that we're discuss and follow up on to put in place, and yet we talk about the same types of things. We've talked about having an HR rep for the last 3 meetings, and an HR rep is not something this committee can fix.
Mhm.
And so that should not be our focus. I apologize. And I'm just a little frustrated because I feel like we could already be doing more, and we're not. And that's a very because we're all giving our time and our effort, and not just during the meeting, but throughout the weeks, prepping and reviewing information, and that type of thing. And then we get on these meetings, and it's almost a repeat of the previous meeting. And it's just, for me, I feel like we're talking about things that we're not going to affect change until we actually put our hands to the plow. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it at this point.
And thank you for bringing that up, Gary. When we first started tonight, I pointed out our agenda was to discuss the municipal recruiting and training and hiring process. And along with that, I think the employment opportunity document is important. And then we got over onto what Bill had sent us. So I apologize if we got off track there. But as far as recruiting and training, let's kind of stick to that for now. Has anybody come up with any suggestions as to, I know in the past we've talked about going to, say, JCC, going to the high schools, trying to recruit people to do internships. Does anybody have any further suggestions past that?
So I think one of the things, especially jobs that consider, you have to take into consideration the civil service exam, the fact that the city doesn't necessarily control that aspect.
Right.
What we can do in reference to that, and I know Danny not being here, but he's mentioned it in a previous meeting, is being transparent about that process.
Mhm.
And I think
Still there?
process is how to um, how to get involved, how to study, how to prep for it, even offer maybe practice exam type of approaches. I think that'll give us a better opportunity in pushing people in that recruiting direction, because a lot of people don't even realize what positions require or don't require the civil service exam within the city. And I think that in itself is a recruiting problem that's easily rectified.
Yeah, I definitely have some thoughts on that point. I emailed everybody something, and it was actually almost word for word what your thoughts were, Gary, and totally on the same page with you, because it's a huge barrier, civil services, and it just needs some education. And I think during the week, especially I got 4 days off coming up, I could start to put together a little bit of some legwork on civil service. They have a veterans bonus for the scoring in those tests. It's possible that we could lobby or look into having an incentive for other things. Not just for a veteran, but I can lay out some of the ideas on how it works and where the barriers are and send it to everybody just to review and look at. Um, and Bill's, of course, kind of an expert on civil service, and we've gone through it a lot of times. But
Okay.
makes a good way in that point. I agree that's a big point, big barrier.
I think so. One thing that, and I'm not going to speak for Michelle, she sent me some information yesterday, and I think she's got some great ideas and great concepts to share along this line. So to me, whether it's, and maybe they're two separate things, and I don't want to get into an argument over semantics, but recruitment and hiring. In the documentation, I don't see a formalized hiring practice. I see, all of the status, kind of the the required equal opportunities, workplace violence, so on and so forth. But what you're talking about, Gary, what you're talking about, Bob, is having a formalized hiring practice. So as a citizen, I could read that, and maybe it could help to explain the intricacies of what, again, how do you become a fireman? I have no clue.
Right.
And and then not only to help inform the public, but also to help guide the city officials in that hiring process. Do we have any formalized, quote unquote, formalized hiring policy, Bill?
Not that I know of. Usually we just follow the civil, because most of our jobs, pretty much all of our jobs are civil service. So we follow, you start with, they have to take the test. And then even some of our part-time positions are tested positions. So some are competitive. Well, most of the tests are competitive. So it starts with civil service. So if somebody's looking for a job, we usually will give them the civil service application, direct them to Cattaraugus County Civil Service, where the postings are for your testing, and then I know one of the things we could do is direct them also to New York State Civil Service website, to where there are practice exams on there. The test questions are usually coveted, so you're not going to get an actual civil service, like the last test, but you will get a study guide, or what to study for on the different classifications and that, and what you need to know. And one of their favorite things is that they've said for years is, a lot of the questions are common sense. Well, no, they're not, because they may be common sense to me or you or that, but you got to get into the mindset of the Civil Service Commission. So there are some things that, yeah, but I don't believe we have a formal, I've never seen a formal hiring policy. So maybe that's something that can be put together, and, on how we're going to do that, because, we can have the policy. We're still going to be governed by, the civil service competitive list that comes out, and, for our hiring.
Yeah, but that standardized approach, I think that would be fantastic. Because if I'm fresh out of high school, or let's say that, I decide to attend Bonaventure from wherever, and I decide, hey, I like this community, I want to stay,
Mhm.
and I want to stay in this community. And so, hey, I want to find out, how do I become an employee of the public works, the fire department, police department,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
What's the process? Like from a police standpoint, in Jacksonville, when I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, I could go right to the website, and I could essentially pull out or print out, a process and a checklist of what the expectations were for me physically, educationally, etc. And to have that same type of opportunity is, in my opinion, it helps the recruiting process,
Mhm.
ultimately the hiring process, and furthermore, even retention, because you're establishing right from the beginning that you have something formalized and standardized, and you're investing in your employees.
Mhm.
That's true. And I don't know if Bill, if you would know this, say somebody goes through BOCES or JCC or one of the schools for criminal justice. Do they educate them on civil service, or what they have to do to get a job in Olean?
Yeah,
Do they
they
work
do.
with our department?
Well, I know Todd McLaughlin, who is the instructor at the county, at the BOCES here on the Windfall Road, and
Okay.
he does take them through the process on what they need to do, for various agencies too. Take
Okay.
like, there's the City of Olean test that's given, and then there's the county test that's given. So for all the smaller departments throughout the whole county, you could take, there's one test for that. And then there's one for sheriff, and then there's one for city of Olean, there's one for city of Salamanca. So you have all that. Now, I know he does go through, as does Tim, he's over in Ellicottville. He's the town supervisor of Portville. Tim Emily does with his classes also there. So, they do that process, but I think what we're hearing here is that we also need to have that. So if somebody does, look at our website, here's the hiring practice, here's what you have to do to not only for police and fire, but also for DPW. Does it start out with you need a CDL, to be a plow driver? So the different things like that are what you
Right.
need. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think you're right, Bill. And what from somebody who's come into the city, for the past 4 years, that's always been one of the hangups is, like I said, I have no clue if I wanted to become, a fireman or a police officer or a public works person. I have no idea how to go and pursue a job in that field. I go to our website and we don't have, and I don't want to go back to saying, well, we don't have an HR person, but we don't have that necessarily infrastructure, and maybe we do need to focus on that, because if we're talking about equal opportunities and we're talking about, recruitment, then generally the first place someone looks is on the website. What internships are even available, what job opportunities are available.
right.
And
Okay.
one of the things,
No, go ahead, Michelle.
one of the things I had sent John, because I thought that's what we were supposed to do, so that's why I sent that to you. I'm sorry if I was supposed to send it to everyone, but
Nope.
I had put, like, maybe we could do a career site or something similar on the City of Olean page with listing of jobs. And I know that the civil service test, like, that's something I'm not familiar with. I know we do have positions in the Olean City School District that have to come from civil service, but I'm not familiar with that at all. But maybe we could do something like that to highlight our jobs, the qualifications, what you need to do. And one of the other things I put was maybe when we're looking at the positions, like, we could reword the language in the job description. And an example that I had given in the information I sent John was instead of using the word masculine to form it so it's covering everyone, not just so that make it seems like it's for a male only job. So those are just some of the things that I had sent. I had also sent something about, which may not be doable because of the civil service, but like posting jobs on monsterjobs.com, Indeed, LinkedIn, those kind of things. Because I have LinkedIn, but my kids also, that's one of the first things that they did when they were in college. They had to go create an account and put themselves out there so that they are familiar with that and started to be able to look for jobs. So, but again, with the civil service, I'm not sure how that works and all those ins and outs. So
well, there's always ways of linking, I guess, on our city website, the civil service sites, also with the county, the state, there's federal jobs. Years ago, when I was a youth officer here, the juvenile officer, we did I spilled something on my sweater. I got to get off before I get home. So anyways, I'll get yelled at. So anyways, when I was a juvenile officer, we did a program which was run through the State of New York Police Juvenile Officers Association. It was called Careers in Law Enforcement. And it took, and I teamed up with BOCES and their criminal justice, and we went through all of the careers, not just police work. Because when you say law enforcement, it takes in a lot of different things. It takes in not only police, but you've got, there was the state police, there was federal jobs, there's, the FBI, the CIA, you got all of that and different, you know, the difference between what a deputy does and what a city police officer does. And, you know, it's just it's more of it's just, you got a deputy who has a wider area to cover, different thing, you know, where a city is, you know, you got a smaller area to cover. So these are things that, yeah, that the information can be put out there. We can build a better website. We can do better information. And I think that's probably one of the intents of this committee is to come up with what can we do better, you know, and how can we put that out there? So I think the initial plan here is to start to put together our thoughts, and as we move forward, I don't know if we want to wait to put together a package or start to build on these and continue to build and take these things, certain things to the council and say, okay, we need to have, you know, a hiring policy that we get the council to pass. Here's our hiring policy. And then we get that, you know, we get that on the website, and we get it out, you know, in our different media sites, social media sites. Terminology, as we've been working with Cat County Civil Service, they've been changing a lot of our job descriptions to meet. The state wants, they don't want a individual job descriptions for all the communities. Like I don't know, I'm drawing a blank, Bob, on one of them, but we you know, on a truck driver. So they want one job description that's going to be able to service everybody, and not say, okay, Olean needs a truck driver who can drive a 550 versus a CDL. So they, you know, I'm rambling now, but anyways, they have been trying to change their job descriptions and change the terminology in them. So I think what Michelle, what you were saying, what was the word you used? Masculine, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be changed in their new, when they come out with their new updated job description.
And then back to the civil service, as
Yeah.
far as like the high school, do we know if the guidance counselors are sharing that information with the kids, or like, I don't know how old they have to be to take the civil service tests? Like, is that something that we could reach out to the school, like as they talk to the kids when they're juniors?
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know they have participatory government. I'm not sure how far that takes them, but yeah, I mean, that's a good, do we want to invite somebody from the high school to come to one of our meetings and talk about this stuff? You know, that might be a thought too, that we can start to invite. Maybe we could get someone from Cattaraugus County Civil Service to come on and say, okay, here's why we're doing this and this and this. And also, you know, I'm not sure, you know, what the high school is doing with the, you know, are they advising kids of here's your avenues?
Right.
I know
I know 20 years ago they didn't.
when my kids were in school, they didn't. So
Yeah.
When mine were in school,
When I was at Olean, they did not.
yeah,
You know, it was kind of what college are you going to go to?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
there was, you know, back in, I graduated in 71, and I'm a lot older than probably all of you. So, but anyways, back then, you know, I wanted to go to trade school. I wanted to go to BOCES, and I was discouraged, and you know, tried to push towards college. And I says, no.
No, so the same thing's still happening.
Yeah, I went
It
to BOCES for welding, and you know, I back then it was a 3-year program, and so you know, and then I just I mean, I still can weld, but you know, it's things that and then after that there wasn't criminal justice back then, or I would have probably gone that route. But I got a trade, you know, and, but I was discouraged from, tried to push, the guidance counselor tried to push me towards college. And
Yeah,
Right.
that still happens.
yeah,
It
So,
does.
I know Phil Vecchio teaches the government class because I have a lot of his kids come to do internships with me. And I don't have a problem reaching out to him to ask him if he covers anything related to civil service,
Mhm.
just to see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I'm pretty sure, because I know my own kids, it was like, oh, what college are you applying to? What colleges are you applying to? Not these are your options, or,
Right.
so, but I'll reach out to Phil Vecchio and ask him,
Yeah.
like, if that's covered or.
Yeah, that's true. And I think all of us have had those experiences. I know myself, when I was a senior, it was senior skip day if you went to visit a site. So I chose St. Francis, and I met Sister Redempta, and we talked about nursing, and that's how I, went into nursing. So everybody has different experiences. And I think we need to check with the school, because maybe they're doing something we're not aware of, but I think it sounds like we just need to work, be more collaborative with them. I mean, all the schools, Walsh, OEN High. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think just to add on to that, I think one of the next steps, though, that would be specific for this committee is to think about, so once that information is out there and those collaborative like relationships are developed, like then to the point, like to what extent are diverse, our minorities, our underrepresented folks being like specifically recruited into these types of opportunities and these types of trainings.
Yeah.
So if there's underrepresented groups that aren't taking the civil service exam, putting it up on the website isn't necessarily going to reach those communities
Right.
or those demographic groups. So whatever we can do to do additional outreach, if we do see that there are underrepresented groups, that I think that's just as important.
Yeah. Like a job fair, where you can, you have the explanation of everything and offer it. And even, we got to go door to door. If it comes to that, go door to door and knock on the door and hand them some information. So.
I think there's
Good idea.
definitely various ways to make sure that information and those
Mhm.
opportunities are being put out to the community to make sure you're giving the opportunity to a diverse pool. And I think to your point, just putting it on the website isn't enough.
Right.
But being active in the community is all part of that recruiting process. So whether it's via a job fair or you have specific internships that you're recruiting for, maybe you hit one specific area of a community or of Olean or whatever the case may be, but there's various ways that we can make sure that happens, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have-
I agree with I agree with all of it. Okay, but right now, we every little bit helps. And so, first of all, there's a lack of information out there. So any young person would go to our website and would have no clue what jobs were available or how to pursue that field. So Bill brought up a great point. We've got a super great IT group. How do we link if those jobs are posted and you're supposed to be redirected to the civil service website at the county, then how do we bring that at least and put that on the Olean websites and have a hiring practice that establishes the criteria you need to pursue certain jobs, so on and so forth. But then, the second step is community outreach. So you need to be able to at least go to, and I'm thinking, and I don't know whether the armed forces still do this, but the armed forces were always great about getting into a high school and saying, hey, we've got opportunities galore for you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever happened at Olean that the city of Olean, you're talking police, fire, DPW, water treatment, all of these different careers are within our own community. why not have for juniors and seniors, you know, an hour career fair, whatever you want to call it, a presentation on what's available. And oh, by the way, go to our website and it's going to tell you everything you need to know about pursuing that career. I mean, that's obviously a long-term goal, but yeah, I would just be happy starting with getting the information out there.
Mm.
Agreed. I know when I was in, I want to say it was middle school, or maybe I was a freshman in high school. There was a summer program. I actually did an internship over the summer at the water treatment plant. And it was over the summer, and it was only like maybe went in for a couple hours each day and kind of shadowed somebody. And I walked out of there, you know, after that summer, really wanting to pursue chemistry. That was a big thing
Mhm.
as a result of practical application that I saw happening. So, and it did, it really, and I even knew existed. I found the program through BOCES. And it wasn't even through Olean, you know, the city, or it was through a BOCES program that somebody pointed me to. So if the information would have been available through the school or through the city, it may have sparked interest a lot sooner, or maybe for more people.
That's
Yeah,
true.
we have some pretty good programs. Like we do a lot of tours at our water and sewer plants, and those are great just to get people thinking. And um, we do have internship programs in our. I did my participatory government high school work in our engineering office, and we have that in our electricians division. And well, we hire summer help and things, so those need to be, you know, extended more to the community. But as I hear everybody's thoughts, like one of the points I wanted to make today was social media. We don't have a social media policy, but a DPW has one of the most social media active pages, and I think the website can be a tool in this way too. But if we want to make an immediate impact with this committee and extend our reach, why don't we have a social media page, you know, sooner rather than later, and start getting information as we, you know, approve it or whatever out there sooner rather than later, and start building our base and people and being that tool for them, and connecting with the African American Cultural Center and connecting with JCC that way, because and then young people that way, of course. But that's just my thoughts.
Mhm. And I think that's a great tool, especially with the young people, Bob, because they're always on social media.
Mhm.
And I think, and I like what you guys put up. So I think we have to, it sounds like we have to pull in someone from our IT department to help us. You know, we can give them the information and what we want, and maybe they can come up with the content, you know, the way it would look. Because you have to make it look inviting too, you know, something interesting for young people to get drawn in.
And the other thing, like, I want to go on the city website, and I want, like, the people are what make this city great. Like, I want to see people, and I want to see a diverse group of people when I go on the city website, and I don't get that. So, you know what I mean? And I don't want to, you know, the mayor made some videos recruiting the city and marketing and things like that, and I think it's great. But it's like all the mayor, you don't really see anybody of color there. You don't see even in other genders. And you know, the mayor was asked to do that. But I think it'd be great to have some diversity included into our marketing campaigns and things that we do.
Mhm.
That was one of the things that I also said, to highlight the diversity of
Right.
our of the city, so that we're giving people of color or other races a reason to come to our city or to look for jobs in our city.
Mhm.
Right, right. I think one of the people you could highlight on DPW is one of our engineers who's a female. You know,
Yeah.
I see her out and about doing surveys, and I've had people ask me, does she work for the city? And they're surprised. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, she works for the city. She would be a great person to do one of those little videos on, just to show people, you know, try anybody, you know, you could be female, black, white. The experience and the opportunities are there. Any other input?
Well, I guess I would just like to just, you know, what is our next step? What would everyone like to see moving forward? I just, what are some action items that we can take away that we can come back and really have some more meaningful change for the next time.
Well, I'll go first. I am just a wild card, and so I need structure. And so if we could like, and I thought we said this last meeting, so forgive me if I missed something, which I probably did. I thought we were gonna have an outline and we were gonna use that as um, kind of our guide so that we could manage what we're trying to do. And so on the HR side, like Michelle's piece on a career site, to me, that fit into what I thought we were, moving toward in terms of, HR policies and procedures or whatever, and recruiting and all of that. So, but I just, I'm a person, I just need some kind of structure so that I can, wrap my mind around it. And because I've got 10,000 things running through my head, none of which necessarily mean anything, but so I just personally need a little structure so I know where I'm trying to go.
Well, tonight what we did is, remember the last time we met, we were going to talk about with John's points, that outline he made about the first one being, it used to be human resource management, training, hiring. We changed it to municipal recruitment, hiring, and the hiring process. And then underneath that is what we just touched on, was community outreach and having a dialogue. So I think that along with what a couple other folks suggested about maybe working with IT to start putting together something, because we know what the qualifications are now. We know that civil service is a part of government. So maybe taking that and coming up with just a basic snapshot, I guess that's what I want to say, of what we want to see on our website as far as outreach to the community, as far as job opportunities and what's required, and try to get more information out and how we do that as far as the civil service. That's what I'm hearing tonight would be some of the things we might want to look into for our next meeting. Does anybody want to delete anything or add anything to that?
So I want to just, and I apologize, I'm looking through my sent emails, and I'm not seeing that I sent you guys the updated or revised mission and structure that we created. I don't think I did. So I just
made notes.
I'm sending that off to everyone right now, first of all. But Charlene, you make a great point, and I too prefer structure, and so we had discussion tonight on the recruitment aspect, and I think we all walked away with saying we need a hiring policy. So out of tonight, we walked away with saying, well, we do need a formalized hiring policy, and we need something that we can direct our citizens and our constituents to, as well as post the jobs that are available. So the start is we need the information just to be out there and a structure formed. Now, maybe we can help with that creation, especially with your background. Maybe that's something we should tackle because there really isn't something in all those documents that I looked through. And maybe that's where we just pick the ball up and run with it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
How quickly can we start work?
You froze.
And starting to get that information out there as far as what's available.
Bill?
I didn't hear the first part, Gary. I'm sorry. You froze there.
How quickly can we begin to work with IT to get basic information out as far as like what positions are even available, that type of thing. How quickly can that start to happen?
They can start next Monday. We can start to, we're off tomorrow and Friday. So we can, am I hearing that a Facebook page or is what we want to create for this, or do we just want to put information on the website on links and things like information like that?
I think we start there and then build from that. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts because, you know, I just kind of want to lay that thought out there. But yeah, I think it's a good place to start. And then, I don't know, maybe we need to break into subgroups. I think maybe John brought that up and say, okay, me and Gary and John are going to work on civil service thing, or, you know, like the people that have the knowledge in certain areas can, and then bring it to the rest of the group.
Mhm.
You know, we can't just talking about these things is one thing, but doing the legwork is another.
Well, you know,
I think that's a
go
good-
ahead, John.
Thank you, Linda. I think it's a good start, Bill, to, again, just to get the information out there. And I'll give you a reference point. You know, I know, and this is by no means trying to throw anyone in our tech department under the bus. I know a lot of stuff's going on, but I know the police department, you know, Chief Rowley had said they were looking for at least one officer to hire. And I went out on our police website and it says there's no jobs available. And so maybe something is posted right now in civil service at the county, but if I were, you know, wanting to join the police force in Olean, I wouldn't know. So I think that's a really great idea, is just to at least get that stuff up there and linked, you know, for a start.
Okay. Now, are there different areas that people, like Michelle, you were interested in talking to Phil Vecchio about what the school actually is doing as far as educating the kids about civil service?
Right.
Okay. I could go to BOCES. I know a few people up there and kind of get a snapshot of what they do to help, you know, promote the city and employment and as far as civil service and things. So that takes care of BOCES and the high school. Anybody else have any other ideas what they would like to tackle?
Well, I could start drafting the policy on hiring and directing people, then we can, as a committee, fill in the blanks. I can kind of build a shell.
Okay, that sounds good. And I think with that, we can always, once you start building that, we can plug it into what might end up going on the website and eventually tie it all together. Does that make sense to everybody?
Does to me.
Okay. Anybody else? So Gary, Bob, and John, are you guys on board with the task that Bob laid out for you? Are you there?
Here.
Okay, nobody's talking. It's like, and my screen's gone. Okay. And
Sure.
then we come back with what we find. Is there anybody else that wants to put in any other suggestions? And Bill, you can talk to the IT people, see what they can come up with.
Yep, can do that.
I
If
have
somebody
one.
needs-
My plate's gonna be pretty full with the budget and with the police reinvention committee there, so.
Okay,
If
Well, I
Charlie
think-
needs assistance, I'd be happy to help her with that, the policy piece. If not, I'd be interested in looking at some, like a basic discrimination and harassment policy that extends beyond sexual harassment.
Yeah, and to Chris's point, so I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to circle back. So you're asking Gary, myself, and Bob to work on drafting something that ties our civil service, the civil service component, right? Is
Yes.
that for our hiring practices, is that right?
yeah, what Bob had said about kind
Okay.
of putting it together and coming up with something that we can put on a website that makes sense.
Okay,
And
and then to Chris's point, it really to even review the applicable existing policies we have and make the modifications like Chris is saying to include, you know, additional updated terminology or
Mhm.
something. We have these existing policies. We don't need to necessarily start from scratch, but maybe we could expand them or extend, you know, modify them in some way.
Nope. I mean, that sounds like a lot to put together, but I think if each one of us does our part when we get together the next time, start there.
I'm not suggesting to have it all done by the next take.
Oh, no, just where we are at that point.
Right. You know, just start with one of the policies,
Huh.
review it and make recommendations or modifications to it.
Yeah, I mean, make a list of tasks that need to be done, how many policies need to be updated and modified, and, you know, and
Right.
then see who wants to do what. It's gonna take some work. I know,
Yep.
Chris, I know last time you brought up grants and MWBE, and we didn't get a chance to talk about that, but, and I'd love to maybe touch base with you on that. I can tell you, maybe we could either chat by phone or email, coordinate on that a little bit. Because
That would be great. And that wasn't necessarily a focal point. It was just kind of an example of like an outside of hiring a type of policy that could be helpful.
yeah, I mean, I think I'd be afraid of having like a policy like for the city where we got requirements, because, yeah, again, I guess I'd like to lay it out to you and kind of get your thoughts on, you know, what our challenges are with the city. But it comes down to education with that too. There's just a lot. I think the paper factory and then Cabinet World are the only, and then Diane Bellata that owns landscaping company. They're the three women-owned businesses in it, but it takes like 18 months to get certification, and there's just not the education out there. And we could help with that, I think. And I think that's maybe our role. That's just response.
So another question about civil service, I'm sorry. So when it comes to looking for like someone who's taking the civil service test, does it go out to like different counties, or is it just Cat County? Like, how does that work? Like, to where we're looking for someone who has scored whatever they have to score. Is it just the Cat County, or is it other counties?
It's New York State has it's New York State Civil Service, and each county would have their own civil service department, or mainly larger cities would have it, their own too. So they have to all go by the same standards.
So we could technically hire someone from a different county if that falls under the line of the job description.
Yeah, if they've taken the test, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, there are some tests that are specific to like to the city of Olean would be your police and your fire. That would be well, I take that back. The different size cities. Olean is for police there's a list just for the city of Olean, and I believe the fire department like could do either Olean or Salamanca because we're comparable in size. I think so, but now everything's governed by New York State Civil Service, and then your county has their civil service office there, and it's quite involved because we have to send in like every time somebody gets a raise or their pay changes, maybe they get a longevity step, we have to file that with civil service. So they keep track of all of that. It's quite it's all done web-based now, but it used to be done all by hand. But so it's quite involved. But like I said, maybe we could get somebody, one of our meetings to come in from the civil service and explain, answer questions and explain how things are done. But yes, the short answer is if they're on a list, they can, we can consider them for hiring.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so for next meeting, we'll just work on the different sites and maybe Bill, since a lot of this is kind of touching on civil service, maybe having someone come in sooner rather than later to talk to us would be more helpful. Because we might find that they do more than we think they do reaching out. You know, you never know. Is that
Well,
something that would be possible?
We can always ask, so.
Okay,
But take a look at the, in the meantime, take a look at Cattaraugus County Civil Service site. And they got a lot of information on there. So take a look at that and see what you think.
okay. Okay, guys, we kind of ran over a little, but I think we have some really good information and I think we have folks that are willing to do different things. And when we meet next time, I will, you know, Bill and I will talk before then. And if we have someone coming from civil service to give us some information, we'll let you know before the meeting. Okay?
In the meantime, Bob, Gary and I will get together or send some emails back and forth on that civil service process. So we'll take a look at that website, Bill, and we'll see maybe what we could pull and put on our website, that information.
Take a look at the state website also.
Okay.
State Civil Service too.
Okay.
As per request, I made these meetings reoccurring every 2 weeks.
Thank you.
So if those of you who, I don't know if you use Outlook or what calendars, but those of you that do, it's probably on for every 2 weeks. So, but if you wish, I can also, the day of or a day before or something, we can send out a reminder too.
That would be good.
Okay?
Yep. Thank you, Bill.
So everybody have a nice new year.
You
You
too.
too.
Okay.
I'm
you too.
looking forward to 2021, so.
It's got to be better.
Are you going out to Jubilatia, Bill?
Jubilation,
Jubilation, yeah.
yeah, the restaurant, the bar that used to be there, is that what you're talking about? You were too young to go there, so.
My parents were reminiscing about it. I said, yeah, those days are long gone in 2020. No
Yeah.
going out to the clubs.
Yeah, let's go clubbing.
No, I'm gonna be at Veranda Beach.
There you go. Hey, enjoy.
725 Bishop Street is where I'll be, so.
Happy New Year.
Okay, guys, Happy New Year.
All
Bye.
right, same to
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.